Here's Olga Lautman, the creator and founder of the Trump Tyranny the tracker, but it should be a network. It's so good. Olga, we were just talking a little bit about this, what could be an assassination, what could be a targeted killing. We're not quite sure. It's certainly a mass shooting in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan, that took out the Blackstone executive there. What's your take on the story? I'm a little suspicious of things, but I tend to be a little bit, like that.
I mean, I haven't followed it very closely. I
Mm,
followed it as much as, everyone on CNN and what local news wrote, New York Times and local ABC News and whatnot. As of now, I personally think that it looks like, a mental health issue. I
mhm,
think that this person was unstable. I think, to really, he definitely came on a mission. It was just done in a bizarre way to, come from Vegas and from them checking all the tolls and cameras, along the way. They mapped out how he left and what states he went through at what time. I don't know. I think regardless of what happens with this case, if there's something more or if it was just someone who had grievances with NFL or whatever it is, bottom line is with social media and with the access to weapons and with just so much polarization and just in general, the climate in the country is extremely heated.
mm,
And, right now, you see people who normally would act out on video games now, thinking they're playing a video game, but it's actually taking people's lives. And we see
mm.
this with an increase in school shootings and just in general. So
Yeah,
that's my thoughts. I mean, it's just way too much violence, not enough attention to mental health,
and a
and
polarized society.
polarized society. And we just, I mean, in the past few months, I mean, we've had a state lawmaker assassinated,
Yeah.
and just constantly you're hearing about this. People were just recently arrested
Mm,
for both sides of the aisle to with threats to Trump and others with threats to Democratic lawmakers. You have threats to judges. Um, and so it's just too polarized
mm,
and too many people acting out. And social media doesn't help because it kind of makes them a keyboard warrior
mm.
and indoctrinates them and enrages them to then take it offline and do it. So that's
Certainly suggests there's a culture of assassination, though, that's developing. We've seen so many more assassinations. We never used to have them in this way in the United States.
yeah.
Let's move to the Trump tyranny tracker, and we'll get back to covering that assassination story later in a different show. Um, the big story today on the TTT is Trump's new 5,000 bed migrant detention facility at Fort Bliss. It's been awarded to a team led by GOP megadonor Nathan Albers, whose company, Tent Logics, previously pleaded guilty to illegally hiring undocumented workers in 2019. The Pentagon is now paying the same man who exploited undocumented labor to profit from mass deportations. Wow, that's quite a ironic, sad thing that's happening there.
Yeah, so here you have a GOP mega donor who, got a contract, who used himself undocumented immigrants in the past and was, held accountable for it. And now you have him getting a contract to build an internment camp. So, I mean, it just shows you the corruption and frankly, how they're using this issue for the base. But in reality, I mean, when you get down to it, you see how many billions of dollars are flowing to
Right.
these shady companies. And it's really a pay to play because even in another story in the tracker, two other companies who have donated heavily to Trump have contracts with these internment camps, with ICE facilities and whatnot. So, I mean, at the end of the day, as we are committing egregious human rights violations,
Mm.
and hopefully there will be trials held, or a committee held for those held responsible for these human rights crimes and violations. You have billions of dollars flowing. to these people.
Even though they are supposedly so principled, this turns out to be a giant grift. This is really what it is. And Trump is just feeding his supporters and these corporations more and more millions of dollars from the government's coffers, from taxpayers' money. And basically, this is going to fund this entire, drive for immigration. This is really a corrupt state of affairs that we're in. Let's move to the second story, where Trump-appointed SEC chair Paul Atkins attended the Donald Trump Jr.'s club launch party. You remember this club that he launched for billionaires, I think it is. The SEC approved Grab-A-Gun, a Don Jr.-backed firearms retailer, to go public. Trading as Pew, shares have plunged over 66% since approval, suggesting investors recognize the corrupt foundation of this IPO. I know very little about the story, but I know you do. So tell me exactly what Don Jr. has been doing.
So he opened this club, $500,000 per head, for this exclusive club in D.C. to basically buy people in the Trump regime. And here you have, a company who wanted to go public with their shares and issue shares. And the owner attends this club and then suddenly gets SEC approval. And it just shows you that everything, they're all for sale in this White House. And we are seeing the most naked corruption, I think, ever happening. We've had corruption in the system, but what we're seeing now is unprecedented. Everything between, the Qatari bribe to cryptocurrency to, frankly, anyone who has money can buy this president and shape U.S. foreign.
Let me just underline what you're talking about here. So Donald Trump Jr. starts a club with a very high benchmark for being a member of this club, and $500,000, you said, to be a member. And the SEC chairman attends this club? Paul Atkins actually.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm positive he did.
Yeah.
But because it's all Trump cabinet officials who are going through the club, and then you have people who want to lobby, and instead of lobbying, they're just paying to attend this club, have drinks, and say, hey, how about you do me a favor? And God knows what other exchange of money happens between these CEOs and cabinet officials.
It's basically a $500,000 price tag to go and see the cabinet member of your choice, basically, and get approval for whatever you want via Donald Trump Jr. That's shocking. Nothing like this has ever existed in America.
You know who else is involved? David Sachs.
Oh,
another
go figure.
one.
The cryptocurrency czar.
Who took, the time starting in January.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to January of 2022, he never, ever, ever on his Twitter mentioned the word Ukraine or Russia. And right after January, the Russians got to him, and you would think his job is to be a propagandist for Russia and spew their disinformation and propaganda.
Okay.
And he's part of this, and he's a crypto czar inside, this regime. So.
And so this, the Grab-A-Gun thing, is that something that Don Jr. has been involved in, has been backing as a company? Is that what's going on there? Is it his own enterprise, or is it a firearms retailer?
I don't think it's his own. I do think he has been backing it. But who knows? ProPublica latched onto this and did a good investigation. I'm sure they'll continue to see if he's actually personally invested in it.
If that's the case, where it's his company that he's backing, he's coming to his club with a $500,000 entrance fee, and he's getting to meet the SEC chairman and gets SEC approval. That's as naked a corruption as you could possibly imagine right there in the White House. That's incredible.
It's happening here and it's happening abroad. Serbia, Romania, Albania. Any place on the planet you look, you see people moving money into Trump organizations. So.
Just the way it is these days, apparently. And then you get to this story, which is just astounding to contrast with what you just spoke about. CIA Director John Ratcliffe has referred former Obama officials John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and Hillary Clinton to the Justice Department for possible prosecution. Ratcliffe claims newly released intelligence supports charges related to what he calls the 2016 election hoax, despite bipartisan findings confirming that Russia sought to help Trump win, which we all know that Russia helped Trump win. That's not even questioned really in any sane circles. But here they are going to press charges, or at least the intelligence chief is looking for them to press charges against these men and women.
They are going to move forward with it. I've been warning about this. This
Mm,
is something they've indoctrinated just as much as Epstein. They indoctrinated their base with mass arrest of Democratic
mm,
leaders over Russia, over, whatever things. But this is something they primed them for. And
mm,
if you look on social media, their base is like salivating over arrest. Just like
mm.
they're salivating over Epstein files, they're salivating over arrest. And you have, this piece of shit Ratcliffe with this freaking Russian agent Gabbard
Mm.
who are rewriting history, telling people that Russia did not attack the US election to get Trump in. And that's it. And I mean, and now you have Fox News. Like, it's a very concerted effort to rewrite history. And
And
go ahead.
what crime is there? I mean, a hoax is not really a crime. So what are they suggesting criminally happened here? And how come it's still even prosecutable? It's more than 8 years ago.
I'm gonna say I don't know, and their
Mm,
point is not to even make sense as we've seen,
mm,
because they've also, launched investigations to prosecute Miles Taylor and Chris Krebs. This is also from back in the day. I mean, the crime, I guess, fabricating intelligence is what they're going with. But at the end of the day, their point of any dictator is not to actually, result in an actual jail sentence. It's the
right,
spectacle of the indictment, the
right.
spectacle of seeing someone booked. So even if this somehow would get through a grand jury and people get indicted and then cases get dismissed, the point is to taint people and taint the
Right.
whole opposition party. So, I mean, this is more as much of a psychological operation as, where they actually want to weaponize our agencies to go after these people.
Unbelievable. The other story that's really fascinating on the Trump tourney tracker today is that Harvard is negotiating with Trump officials and reportedly is weighing a $500 million settlement. The talks follow Columbia's $200 million deal with Harvard resisting Trump's push for outside federal monitors on campus. But this is remarkable that they're willing to spend $500 million to placate the administration.
Yeah, and this is, the number one rule is you do not cave into a dictator, you do not cave into terrorists, you don't negotiate with dictators or terrorists because you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're seeing, this capitulation by university after university. Now Duke University is next under investigation. So you have, I mean, the bigger picture is that Trump and his Republicans want to take over the universities.
Right.
They want it to be like it is in Russia, where you go and the state dictates what you learn, what you hear, what books you read. They rewrite chapters. I mean, this is under full control of the Kremlin, what people learn in starting from kindergarten on. Well, not kindergarten, but starting from their first year of school on. So this is, what they want here. They want these universities to turn into indoctrination centers in order to grow their party and the views and the fascism, and that's it. And then you have these universities who are caving in, and it's incredible. I mean, if you've read the Columbia
Mm,
the details, I believe that this regime has to basically have say in who's being hired,
mm,
have say in Middle Eastern studies and what
wow.
can or cannot be taught. And so it's basically, they're using Columbia as a test case as far as how far they could go. And the last thing I'll say, universities around the world are known to be the place where movements start to push
Yeah,
back against a regime.
exactly.
And they are, at the same time, intimidating universities to basically force students, you know, uh, not to protest
Hmm.
and to intimidate students, whether it's threatening them with expulsion or whatever it is, not to protest. So I mean, it's a very dark thing what is happening, and with Harvard potentially, you know. Thinking about settling, it's gross. I mean, it's really gross that one after another is
Yeah.
falling like dominoes.
And you mentioned Duke there. It's worth mentioning here that the Education Department's Civil Rights Office has opened an investigation into Duke University and the Duke Law Journal of allegations of race-based discrimination in member selection. Trump officials also accused Duke of using racial preferences in hiring, admissions, and scholarships. So they really are going after universities on every level, but particularly now Duke as well.
And on top of it, they're reversing. I mean, really, it's such a sick inversion of what the civil rights laws are, to now use discrimination against white people as the premise to go after not only universities. We're seeing them go after public schools
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago, and public schools. So, I mean, this is the whole education system they're attacking. And we made such progress with the civil rights movement, with civil rights laws, and the fact that they are twisting these laws now away from people that they are meant to protect because of systemic racism, to focus on, white people aren't getting hired. I mean, it's really, it's
It's
disgusting.
really unbelievable. Well, that is the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for our weekly authoritarianism 101 session. And tonight tell me again what we're doing tonight. I forget.
Elections,
Election, it's right.
manipulation of elections, and how dictators take over elections.
That starts at 8 p.m. You can still register up until 7 p.m. And the link is on both Olga's Trump Tyranny Tracker and Unmasking Russia sites and on narrative.org, NARATIV.org. We'll see you again at 8 o'clock tonight, Olga. And I'll be back in about 30 minutes with Dean Blundell and the 5-Stack, the top 5 stories of the day, right here on Substack. Have a great afternoon.
Put narrative.org right behind.
Oh, I should, right? The spelling.
The spelling, and that's it. That way you have that, and it's like, register right over here.
I am going to do just that. That's a great idea. Thank you, Olga. I appreciate that. I won't have to spell it as much. Thank you very much. And thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow on the Trump Tyranny Tracker and tonight if you're joining us for our session. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.